Well, Brian, I don't know where we're going to start with this one. A very strange football game. Yeah. You know, a lot of times when Colorado plays these non-conference opponents that aren't from other Power 4 programs, over time you kind of forget about those games. I'm not going to forget about this one.
No, I mean, I'm right with you. I don't know where to start. I mean, there's so many things that happen today. You're like, okay.
And we're getting heckled by athletic director Rick George while we're doing the video.
I know. It's a lot of surprising things today. Number one, obviously, being I didn't think we were going to be talking about Ryan Staub in this post game, and that's the guy we're going to be talking about a lot. And I mean, he was the star today, and Coach Prime said he's the talk of the town, and he probably is. And this next week is going to be very interesting, because Coach Prime was very non-committal on who his starting quarterback's going to be. He said, I know what I'm going to do. I'm just not going to tell you. And there's going to be a lot of question marks going into next Friday at Houston. We're going to get to that next week. But that's what this game did. And I think if you went into this game and thought there's a quarterback controversy after today, you'd say, yeah, between Julian Lewis and Caden Salter. That's not it. It's between Caden Salter and Ryan Staub.
Yeah, and then the other thing that was really strange is you only outgained Delaware by 2 yards. You give up, Colorado's defense gave up 222 yards after the catch to the Blue Hens, and yet you only give up 7 points.
Yeah, and the defense, they held when they had to, I guess, right? And I mean, I think the play, Ben Fennesith and Jeremiah Brown were in the postgame. I think their play epitomized the defense today because CU gives up a 67-yard pass, and at the end of it, those two guys combine on forcing and recovering a fumble. That was kind of CU's defense today. They gave up big plays, but then they were able to come up with a play and make a stop. Other than the one touchdown drive, Delaware would drive down the field and CU would hold them. And Delaware missed a field goal, obviously. I think those that bet on CU and took the points were thankful for that because they covered with that. So, but yeah, it was kind of a strange game. There's clearly a lot to clean up defensively, but when you give up 7 points, you'll take that.
So many missed tackles, and that's stating the obvious. Obviously, I wouldn't blame a Colorado fan for not feeling great about the defense, even though they only gave up 7 points. This is clearly a unit that's going to have to get a lot better because the schedule's going to get tougher. And yeah, maybe Delaware's no slouch. Maybe they're an okay team in Conference USA, but you still can't be missing that many tackles against a team like that.
Yeah, there was a lot of missed tackles. And, you can look at it, too, and even say, well, a lot of those yards that Delaware got were through the air as they're trying to come back and things like that. And that's partially true. But a lot of them were just missed tackles, and it was guys that you had somebody down in the backfield or close to it, and then they reel off a 15, 20-yard run. So, there was a lot of that. I thought there was a lot of that last week, too. And so I think this is not a good tackling defense right now. It's got to get better.
Going back to the quarterbacks, we saw Caden Salter have 4 drives total, the first 2 later in the game. Ryan Staub 4 in a row, and Julian Lewis really only 2. He was out there for the final drive, but they went into victory formation after getting a first down there. So, obviously Staub outperformed the other guys, and a lot of it just came down to, I think, a comfortability. Pat Shurmur still has not been able to kind of figure out how to tailor this offense to Caden Salter's strengths.
Yeah, although I know Staub is the big deal today, and we're going to talk about him, but I thought Caden came out really well today. 6 for 6 on the first drive, 29 yards rushing. He scores on the touchdown. I thought he had a nice opening drive to get things going after kind of a shaky start last week. But, only a field goal on the second drive, and then you turn it over to Julian, and Julian struggles, and then 45 seconds left in the first half. I'm thinking you're going to go back to Caden Salter or just kneel on it. They throw Ryan Staub out there, and they start throwing the ball. I'm like, what are they doing? And Staub just he ran with it, man. And credit to him. It's definitely worth noting. I think it's a big deal in this that he's been with Pat Shurmur now for 2.5, 3 years, and the other guys have not. And I think that comfortability with this offense was huge.
We even heard that Ryan Staub went to Shurmur and said, "These are the plays I like," and so he's got that comfortability within this system. And it's just a cool story. The fact the student section is chanting his name. And this is a guy, as we talked about even before today, would have had every excuse to hit the transfer portal and not be here. And he was asked, why did you not hit the portal after the game? I think you asked that question. And he says, I don't know. It's just like he just kind of likes being around here, and it paid off for him.
Bottom line is the transfer portal every offseason, it's filled with Ryan Staubs. It's guys that aren't playing, quarterbacks that aren't playing at one place, and they want an opportunity somewhere else. And so frankly, I go back to the Utah game 2 years ago, the end of his freshman year, and Coach Prime was, Ryan Staub, that was the only other time he really played, and Coach Prime in postgame was like, look, he's a good quarterback. He's going to be playing for somebody. And he opened the door then for Ryan Staub to jump in the portal, and he didn't. After this last season, when they bring in Caden and Juju, it's like, why would he stay? And he stayed, and now you're sitting there looking at it like, is he going to be the starter next Friday? And so it's interesting. And I will say, you mentioned too that Caden, he had the comfortability to go to Shermer and say, I like this, and this. He also talked about those 2 plays to Sincere Brown. Sincere wasn't supposed to run a go route, but I said, run a go. So he's comfortable enough in the offense to alter a little bit and see something on the defense to say, you know what, if they're going to press you, just go. And he hits him. And so I think it's a quiet moxie with Ryan Staub.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it, and he's not as much of a dual threat as Caden Salter is, but he can move too, and he had a nice first down there with his legs. Sticking with the ground game, overall it was a pretty solid performance by that group. If you take out the lost sack yardage, they averaged 5.2 yards per carry. Yeah. Given what we saw from this football team the previous 2 years, you're going to take that.
Yeah, and it was a weird game with the run game. I mean, speaking of, the theme is weird game, right? Last week it's Micah Welch looked so good, and today Micah did not look that great on his runs, but Sincere Brown, Simeon Price. I keep getting those guys mixed up. Simeon Price looked really good, and DeKalen Taylor looked really good. He only got 1 carry last week. Those 2 guys looked really good running the ball. I think both of them were around or above 6 yards a carry. So I think that's the way this running back group is going to go. Is it some days it's Micah's day, some days it's somebody else's day, and there's going to be a Dallin Hayden game at some point too. And that running back room is so interesting because this past week they had 3 walk-ons, and we saw Ronald Coleman, the receiver, actually doing warm-ups with the running back. So that group all of a sudden is like 9 guys in that room. But there's some work to be done there. But that's a group that you kind of look at and say, all right, maybe it's better than we thought.
Price is fun to watch, isn't he? He maybe doesn't need to try to hurdle everybody all the time, but he's got some moves out there. That spin move he had to get broken away from in the open field was really impressive.
Yeah, and look, I'm going to eat some crow on this one because he was one that when they signed him, I just kind of like, this is a guy, like, who are they getting here? I mean, this is a guy that had 300 yards in his career coming into this year. I didn't think he would be a factor at all. He looks really good. 2 games in, like, he runs really hard, and he's a strong, powerful runner. He's a big guy, and he's a guy that 2 weeks in, like, he might be their leading rusher this season. I mean, I like the way he runs the ball.
Defensively, so many guys rotated through there. I outside of a few positions, I think they're just still searching at this point. Makari Vickers comes out of nowhere and has a nice pass breakup on 3rd down. He had heart surgery in March, and we really didn't hear much about him this preseason. So Coach Prime said after the game that he's put – Makari Vickers has put the other corners on notice. And DJ McKinney's going to be out there. So R.J. Johnson's got to step up. He did get a pick today.
Yeah, those corners are on high alert. He also singled out Preston Hodge and DJ McKinney didn't have great games today, especially Hodge didn't have the greatest game. I mean, they both let up some big pass plays, and so that whole corner group, the whole secondary really, they've got to be better, I think. There's some tackling issues at the safety position as well. It's not what we saw last year. Coach Brown was asked, how would you assess that group? He goes, well, it's different. It's not the same. And they're going to have to be a little bit better going forward.
Jeremiah Brown played more tonight than we've seen him play in a CU uniform. Had a nice, was that fourth down stop, as well as show the effort to recover the fumble that was forced by Ben Finneseth downfield. So another feel-good story, and a guy that maybe we thought was going to be part of the rotation, but now seems like he might actually have a chance to carve out a starting role here.
Yeah. Again, it was such an interesting game. This was sort of a game, and I asked both those guys, Jeremiah and Ben Finneseth, like, this is just kind of the game of guys that stuck around and waited their turn. I mean, Ben, Jeremiah, Makari Vickers hasn't been here as long, but he hasn't really been a factor we've talked about. Obviously, Ryan Staub. There's just a lot of guys that have kind of stuck it out and waited their turn. And Jeremiah Brown, look, he's going to be in this rotation, right? I mean, he led the team in tackles today. He made some plays, and you got to give him another opportunity.
And specialists were, again, very special today. Coach Prime said that he, in the post-game team meeting, gave game balls to Ryan Staub and all the darn specialists, he said.
Yeah.
Damon Greaves has had quite a start, over 50-yard average today, 3 inside the 20, 1 at the 1-yard line.
Yeah, and a 67-yard punt as well. I mean, we all loved Mate, but new Mate, I'm like, ooh, he might be better than old Mate. I mean, he looks really good, and I mean, he almost had the one at the 1-yard line last week, but gets the one today, and yeah, he looks pretty good. He's a weapon for sure. And against Delaware, obviously it worked out, but you hope that that's going to be even a big weapon in Big 12 play.
DeKalen Taylor got removed as a punt returner after a couple of fair catches. One of them, he had a lot of green grass in front of him. He's been very special for Colorado offensively when they've gotten him involved, especially in the passing game. But we saw a little bit of Quentin Gibson in there. He returned one for a decent amount of yardage. So that's yet another spot on this football team that a couple games in, you're really still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, and to me, Quentin looked good. I mean, that might be my guy going forward. I mean, he looks pretty natural and good back there, and we know the speed and the shiftiness that he has back there. So I think 2 games in, there's so many spots on this team. You're like, I'm just not sure what's settled yet, and it starts at quarterback.
Yeah. Now they're going to go on the road to Houston. Yeah. It's going to be interesting week around here, a shorter week because they play Houston on Friday. I don't know who you start in this football game. Do you have to go with Staub based on today?
I don't know because I still like the way Caden Salter played the first 2 drives, and I sort of throw out what he did in the fourth quarter because I think that's kind of a weird time to come back in the game. You've been cold. You've been sitting for 2.5 quarters. I don't hold that against him. I thought he looked good early in this game, and I think that not to discount Staub, you're doing this against Delaware, and when I'm going to conference play on a Friday night, I still want the guy that's got the most playing experience. I think I would go with Caden Salter, but I'd have Ryan Staub as my number 2. I think Julian Lewis is going to be a great quarterback. I think I come away from today thinking the one guy I wouldn't play is Julian Lewis.
Probably, yeah. Well, it was a strange football game, and it's going to be an interesting week coming up here in Boulder as Colorado prepares for their 3rd game at Houston.